John Satumba. Now, for those who don't know, John Satumba is currently the GEOS Global Bakery Category Technical Lead in R&D Region. He started his career in R&D shared capabilities as senior scientist. In 2010, he joined GEOS in Charlotte, North Carolina in technical services as a project manager, leading key initiatives that expanded Sydney, Ohio plant footprint, both rotation and enzymatic intensification. John is he's passionate about business, focused science, and developing talent. Outside of work, John loves to spend time with his family. He often travels back to his home in Zimbabwe and golfs and reads, as well as I do. He's active in the Minneapolis community, serving as a member of 2 boards, the Bell Museum of Natural Sciences, and hands-on Twins for the Cities. Now, everybody give a round of applause to Dr. John Satumba.
My mother would be very happy with that introduction. Beautiful man. Thank you so much for the introduction. So far it's been a great day. We started out with the presentation on trends and just what's happening in plants and oils in the industry. So this is looking forward to this second part, talking with you guys. So while we're setting up, I think just congratulations to all of you for 50 years. I think so often we forget to pause and celebrate just to remember the journey, right? So clearly 50 years ago, what we see today wasn't even around, and I think just all the great work that some of the food science folks, club folks have done, I think it's definitely worth recognizing. I wanted to just start off by saying, segueing into my presentation, the folks, I was so impressed with everybody who came up, right? So the ability to serve in a leadership role at a college or any other capacity that you have is, I think, something that more people should embrace. So too often people want to graduate and go into industry or go get a job and miraculously want to be leaders. Whereas you already have an opportunity within your community or within a school setting to start leading. And leading is not just about position, whether you're the president, second vice president, or treasurer, but it's are you exhibiting those characteristics and traits within the community where you're driving change and initiative, right? So I really encourage and challenge all of you to think broadly around, don't wait until you graduate to start leading. And again, leadership not just about people. I have an organization, honestly right now, don't ask me, I don't know how many people, it's a lot, but that's not what leadership is, right? Leadership is within the space that you are working in, do people go to you as the individual who's driving that, right? So it can be an individual contributor leadership, it can be a people leadership, but I really applaud you and your executive council, those people who work with you, for putting this together, but also just for stepping up and saying we're going to lead amongst peers. That's an awesome, awesome thing. So I encourage more people to take that opportunity. So I'm going to cover a little bit around careers in food and navigating the forks in your journeys. Those of you who have heard me talk in the past, you've probably heard me reference this idea of a fork, right? So like anyone else, my leadership philosophy has been cementing and solidifying over the years, but my philosophy as well and thoughts around just how to navigate life is evolving. But for the most part, you should be feeling and sensing the same. So if you've engaged with me in the past, some of this will sound familiar, right? It shouldn't change year over year. Rather, it should evolve, right? Where just as I grow and mature as well as a leader and just as a food scientist. So I'll start off and introduce myself again and just give you a little perspective on the company that I work for. For those who heard it this morning, I apologize. So I work for a company called Cargill. And those who don't know about the company or have been exposed to the company, I always describe this to people as, we're the largest company you've never heard of. And that's not to be arrogant at all, but it's just to say we really do touch a lot of the food supply chain. But because we're the person behind, or the company behind those who are manufacturing, you don't really see our name a lot. But we're literally behind a majority of the ingredients that are in the food supply chain today. So I gave an example this morning of, you go to your food service, your favorite food service restaurant, any aisle in a grocery store, a majority of those products contain a Cargill ingredient, right? So from our starches and sweeteners business to our Cargill protein business, our feed business, so animal feed and nutrition, and everything in between, and then the business that I work in, which is the global edible oils business. So it's a pretty diverse organization, and I think part of the excitement that I had in talking to people about my career, or even about Cargill, is to say that I wouldn't have predicted being here today, sitting where you are right now, right? And so I hope that you can take some nuggets from what I'm about to share with you, so that you can learn from my journey and maybe shortcut, right, the route, so you don't have to go through some of the experiences that I personally went through in my journey. So let's start off by, just introducing a saying that I really love a lot here, which is from Vince Lombardi, and I apologize for folks who don't love sports or American football, but it's a great saying and I love it, right? So the price of success is hard work. I can literally stop there and have a 2-hour conversation, because how many of us are really willing to say that we're hard workers, right? So often we want the easy way out. So the price of success is hard work. Dedication to the job at hand, right? So it's whether you're leading an organization, a food science club, or whatever initiative that you have, do the people around you see that you're dedicated to the job that you're doing? Determination. So this is, and I like to use the word resilience, right? So things will happen. And there's nothing like being what I call Obama cool when things go wrong, right? This is not a political statement, but it's the ability to stay cool and calm and collected when the world around you is just in turmoil, when you're a president of a country, for example. So do you have determination to withstand within whatever you're doing? And so whether you're on the rise or whether you're losing, winning or losing in this particular case means that class is going hard. Are you giving up? Or the class is going really well. How do you react to that? Right? That says a lot about you and the journey that you're going to have in your career. And I think we have applied the best of ourselves to the task at hand. There's nothing that's more satisfying than knowing whatever the outcome, you've given it your best, right? And you've learned from it, and you expect maybe the journey going forward to be better because you've learned from your mistakes. So this is just touching a little bit on my company and what we do, just to give you a little flavor around it. As you're thinking about careers, how should you view the next path that you want to take, right? And I wanted to pause here just really quickly and give you a little taste on what's happening from a trends perspective in careers. So that's going to affect and impact a lot of you, right? And you need to be aware of all these things that are happening. Digitalization is real. Some of you saw me earlier today, and I love technology, so all my presentations are virtual and in real time. So whether I'm on a global call or not, I'm literally whiteboarding on an electronic device, and people in India, wherever they see me doing it live. But digitalization is real, and informatics, digitalization, and automation is here to stay. It's just a matter of time before you walk up to a McDonald's or a Burger King and there's no person serving you. Literally, it's like you're not even seeing what's happening, right? Automation is real. What happens to the careers that are currently out there? What does it mean for all of you, right? Digitalization, the synthesis of data and information and making decisions, smart decisions, is also real. Machining Israel, right? And so you have to think about all these things. And also when you start thinking about just the overall trends around innovation that we covered this morning, right? What's happening in the industry. You also have to consider those and think, well, how does that impact my career and where I want to go, right? So on one end, you have the career trends. On one side, you have the industry trends themselves. All that converges into what jobs you're going to have available in the future in your career. But at the core of that, I think what's true and what remains true is if you're a solid scientist and you're just trained to be a logically reasoning, smart person, you're going to get a job, right? So if you try to just pass a class and get out, but you don't train in the fundamentals of experimentation, understanding what needs to be done, why are you doing it, what purpose is it for, how are you going to design for variables, how do you adjust, and I mentioned this earlier today, how do you pivot when that experiment is not going well? You can apply that to anything, right? You can apply all of those trainings to whatever you do in the future. So be aware that the world around you is changing. The job that you think is going to be available next year is evolving just as quickly as you're trying to learn to get that job. So you need to be highly agile and understand, that there's some core training and expertise that you need, but also understand the world that's just around you. So in my business, when you think about a career in food, we cover everything from food ingredients and bioindustrial, animal protein, animal health, and bioindustrial. And we have folks that are engineering research. We have folks that do biotechnology work, genetic engineering, and at the core of it, it's R&D, the R&D job family cutting across all of that, right? So just a couple of thousand individuals globally, 200 of those people in the fats and oil space, but then we have individuals who touch multiple pieces, and all of those are careers that are available in the food space, right? Food and feed. So when you think about what career do I want, and maybe you say, well, I've never even heard of this company called Cargill. There's a lot that we just don't know, and one, you have to research a lot just to understand what's out there. But I'm pretty sure a lot of you are looking at this and thinking, I had no idea Cargill even did all of that, right? But in each one of these buckets, whether it's animal protein, animal nutrition, there's a team of individuals who have expertise, scientists who are working actively in research, in applications or in development in each one of these key spaces. So I wanted to just give you a little flavor and perspective around what is it that a company like mine does, for example. Then when you think about the specifics of what people can be actually doing, there's what I like to call the value chain of R&D. And basically what I mean by that is the level of the number of activities, the different activities that happen within a research and development job family that touch the entire organization. And so as you see in this particular slide, we have the customer on one end and the science on one end. So clearly, ultimately, we want to make sure that the customer is happy with whatever science we're doing. And I mentioned this earlier in my talk, that you need to make sure that whatever it is that you're working on, whether it's research or whatever career aspect, ultimately you're serving someone, and typically in the food space it's the consumer. That's me and you, right, on a given, on a day-to-day basis, but we're serving someone who wants to either eat that product or eat the snack that we're making, or that alternative protein that we're making. So that's the ultimate person that you're serving. But then there's science at the other end and everything in between that needs to happen. So it's the technical services person that interfaces with the customer to understand, or the consumer to understand the job that needs to get done. It's the applications person who's really good at putting all the pieces together to get some applications work done. It's the development work, which typically is like piloting and development that happens. And then the core research that happens around fundamental understanding of food systems. So we have individuals within a lot of companies that span that entire range, right? From technical services to applications to development and research and everything in between. So again, when you think about your career, which one of those buckets do you want to go towards, right? As I mentioned to all of you earlier, years ago when I was in your shoes, I didn't know that all this existed, right? So I might have wanted to be a chemist and go into pharma. I had no idea that, oh, I could, go into, as a PhD chemist, I could go into a company, use my training, learn food science, be really hungry, and ultimately be known as a food scientist, right, within a certain amount of time. So all of that can happen as long as you open your mind to different experiences, but you also need to make sure that you continue to explore what's out there around you. So the last thing that I wanted to share with you guys, at least one of the last slides that I wanted to share with you is just what have I learned in my career just going through from Rust College, which is a historically black college and university in Mississippi, coming from Africa, going to Rust College, getting my PhD at Ole Miss, then getting my master's in business administration in Minnesota. These are some things that I've learned and that have served me well. The first thing, and you can put this in any order, but always make sure that you know where you're trying to go. So beginning with the end in mind, those of you who have served in the military know this ideology really well. If you don't know where you're going, you're not going anywhere, right? So if you're just coming to class, if you just came to this class and you said, I'm just going there, I don't know what this dude is who's going to talk. But if you came to this class and you said, I heard there's someone who's coming from outside and I want to get one nugget, you've already set your mind on the end, right? Which then charts the path that you take and your engagement in anything that you do. So having the end in mind always helps you in how you navigate through life. I don't care whether it's your personal life or your career, but understanding where you want to go, right? And that's also just your purpose. What is it that you want to do in life? I challenge all of you to just think about that. It's like, what is it that you ultimately want to do? Do you want to be a leader of people? Do you want, mine was I wanted to use science to make a lot of money for a company and for myself, right? So I didn't know what that was going to look like. I knew I wanted to do science, and I did the science. I wanted to use business, combine those two and sell technology, but I couldn't tell you what that meant, right? But my end goal was that, and that's what I'm doing right now. And that's why I said I couldn't have told you that this is what I would be doing, but I could have told you then, and people would tell you, John always said he wanted to marry technology and business. And people thought that was crazy, because honestly, I didn't know what it really meant, right? But I knew those were two passions that I had. That was my end, and I started right there. Put first things first, prioritize. Make sure that you have a priority list. If you're just floating with the wind will just take you exactly where it's blowing the hardest. So make sure that things that are important to you, if you're graduating within the next 2 years, you already have jobs that you're thinking about. And I know it feels early, right? But trust me, it just helps. Have you already taken the GRE? Take it 2-3 years before. If you don't do well, do it again, do it again. So that's a first thing that you know you want to go to grad school. Why are you waiting until 5 months before you graduate? Unless you're super, super smart and you just know, you're just that confident, the average person needs to prioritize. So I would just, again, challenge you to prioritize those things that you know need to be first. Be proactive. There's nothing that I love more than, I was talking to some people today and they were like, hey, I want to talk to you about this. Being proactive is going to take you a long way because things are not obvious to everybody, right? And I'm here and I'm talking to all these people and someone comes up and says, I really want to talk to you about something. To me, that's someone who's being proactive. They're realizing that I don't really know what could happen here, but I'm taking this opportunity to be proactive and I'm stepping up, and maybe it's not even a comfortable place for some people to be in, but it's just showing initiative. That'll take you a long way as well. And then always think about the win-win. And I think this is like, in business, we kind of laugh at this sometimes because we're like, really, can two entities win? But think about, in any interaction that you're having, what's in it for the other party, right? So if you're talking to me and you say, I want an internship, why should I give you an internship, right? I always used to think that way as well. I would walk up to somebody and say, I really would like an opportunity to work for you. I work really hard. I don't know what you, because I realize they want to know, they want to hear what is it that you're bringing to the table. And again, it's not arrogance, it's just understanding you have a need, you want a job, you want an internship, but the company also has a need, right? So think about the win-win in all those situations and position yourself that way as well. Seek to understand and then seek to be understood. In a lot of cases, this is just more of a relationship guiding principle that helps a lot with how you interact, be it in a food science club or in a classroom, is sometimes what somebody does is not what they intend to do. So before you overreact or even react, just ask and understand, like, hey, this is what I observed. I don't know if this is what you intended. You'll be surprised how many times you find out that's actually not what the person was trying to do, right? So this is more of a relational principle around how you navigate, and this helps a lot in just in careers. Champion synergies. Synergies basically is the idea that if I work with you, the combination of me and you is greater than the sum of us combined. That you have something to offer and I have something to offer, and when we come together, the power that we have combined is greater than just me and you working in isolation. And so always be looking for synergies. So it really means that you have to step out of your comfort zone and not be selfish to think, I need to do this, right? You're president of the food science club. My vice president is really strong at this, and I think she just displayed it today, right? She was like, she could have given the presentation on her own, but she was like, you know what, we'll have other people present, right? That's understanding, like, one, not only are those other people learning and growing from that opportunity and learning to present in front of others, but she's also stepping up as a leader and grooming those individuals, right? So championing synergies is really, really important, and always be on the lookout for opportunities where it's not just about you, but it's about the power of more than just you and someone, but the power of two. Be balanced in your life. I always joke when Dr. Regiz is like, hey, I know you're super, super busy, but I'll tell you, I probably have the most fun of my friends. I do so much. I was telling the people earlier today that I fat bike in the winter, I go skiing in the winter. I was just with my nephew in Chicago. Some of you, Nigel, some of you know him. So I'm traveling for work. As soon as I was done, I was with my nephew for like 5 hours after that, right? But people see this busy person, but I make it very intentional to say, I have a friend here who has a food science department. I'm gonna travel at 5 o'clock and travel at night and get there in the morning, and I will deliver a message to the students because that's important to me. And that's balance for me, right? That's a lot of balance for me. So you need to figure out what's the balance in your life. So just because you see someone as busy doesn't mean that they're not balanced, because they might have these pieces of family and church. The spiritual piece is content, right? I do yoga. Namaste. Right? I go to yoga 3 times a week. So when you see me running around, you might think this guy is stressed as heck. I am not actually not stressed. I'm very, very happy. But it's taken me a long time to realize just what I needed to do, and it takes taken a lot of mentors just to say, John, you need to be balanced. Okay, what are you going to do after work, and what are you going to do in this part of your life? And so make sure your spiritual life, whatever it is that you practice, that you're good. Physically, take care of yourself, make sure you feel good. Nutritionally, make sure that you're good, your relationships, nurture those. And then just take care of your academic accountabilities, because you guys are still here, right? That will help you as well, and just be a balanced individual. And the last thing, and I'll mention this, is lift yourself by lifting other people. So don't lift yourself by, holding somebody else down. There's nothing more satisfying than picking somebody else up and seeing how fast you go in life, right? So I think a lot of times we have that reverse, like, I need to move up, so I'm going to do this. Think about it as, I'm gonna lift this person up and see how much further you can get in life. I guarantee you go further when you lift other people up and give back to others than when you just selfishly think about yourself. Life is just like that. It comes back to you, right? I don't know all the principles and why that happens, but trust me, I think there are a lot of people who've written books about it, and I think all of you have seen it. When you do good, it comes back to you as well. So So don't just think selfishly around, I need to elevate myself, so I'm going to do everything that's just about me. But nourish other people, lift other people up, and just see how amazing your life will be. So going back up to the fork at the beginning, the whole idea with the fork is all of you at some point you get to a stage where you're asking, where do I go? Which direction do I go, right? So I can either go left or I can either go right. I can go to graduate school, I can go work. But at the core of that, if you stick to your values, stick to whatever ends up being your life principles and how you have the guardrails around your life, those decisions are easier to make, right? So whenever someone asks me a question about Cargill and they say, what are we going to do about this? Do you know what I say to them? I always say, reach higher, put people first, and do the right thing. Those are the Cargill values. Every decision I make is based on that. When someone asks me, are you going to hire that person? I always say, okay, we need diversity, we need to have fun, we need results. Every decision that I make in my life has guardrails around it. Doesn't mean I'm not flexible, right? But I'm not making decisions. Whenever I get to a fork and I need to make a decision, it's principle-based. It's based on some guardrails that I've established in my life where I'm better able to make that left or right decision, right? So hopefully this helps with you guys as well. You're in such a great place to just push your life in whichever direction that you want. But I'll go right back to the first thing that I mentioned, which is without hard work, without focus, without determination, without resiliency, don't expect to miraculously just do well, right? And doing well is not just about having money, it's about being happy, being content, being balanced. And so I wish all of you well as you move forward in your educational careers, and happy to answer any questions that you guys have about my journey or anything that I've experienced in my career. Thank you so much.
My name is Derek English. I'm a junior with the science program. I just have a quick question. I asked a lot of people that come to this university, especially at the alumni conference. What was your hardest thing transitioning from student to overcome?
That's a great question. So there were several things. So I remember when I joined Cargill, and actually let me put a little commercial advert here. Cargill just celebrated Global Inclusion Day yesterday. So we just paused across all of Cargill and said, we're going to do something in a small team or whichever format. We're going to celebrate inclusion, not just diversity, but inclusion, right? Which means I'm intentionally acting to include others and not just saying we're diverse, we have different races, we have different, but one of the key things that I struggled with when I got into the industry was I realized that there weren't a lot of people that looked like me. And so I quickly figured out that the only way for me to navigate that and to understand what to do was to reach out to people who looked like me, who could tell me how they did it, right? So I remember going to some of our senior vice presidents and corporate executives and saying, how did you do it, right? So great question. One of the first things for me was being in Minnesota, 6-7% minority population, right? And I'm walking around and I'm like, okay, you know. And but one of the ways that I was able to survive was to ask people who have already gone through it and say, what did you do, right? And so some of these lessons that I'm sharing with you today came from some of those folks. So just having a voice and being understanding that my voice matters, even though I look around and people might not look like me, was really comforting to get support early on. I think another struggle for me was I knew where I wanted to go, right? So I was very, very clear about the end state. And I got that very early on from some folks who were mentors, even as a high school kid. But the people who were around me didn't really understand it. So when I would tell the manager that this is what I wanted to do, they didn't really understand what that meant, right? So you're working for a manager and you're a bench scientist and you're really good at what you do. You're telling them that you want to marry science and business. What does that mean, right? So I struggled earlier on because I was very, very clear about what I wanted to do, but some of the people who were around me didn't really understand how to help me. So what I needed to do, again, reaching out to mentors, they said sometimes, well, not sometimes, but you need to have people who are broad, right? You can't just rely on your manager or people who are doing exactly what you do to give you some insight. So what I did was, I literally just said, whoever that I run into within Cargill who's willing to hear me, I will tell them exactly the same thing. And I quickly found out that there was a part of Cargill on the business side that embraced that thought of, you're a technical guy that wants to learn business? Hey, we would love that, right? So being broad and understanding that you can't just rely on individuals who are in your space. I struggled with that early on. So for like 3-4 years, I would say the same thing, and my group would say, we have no idea what that means. But the way that I got around that was to build a network of people who were very, very different. Right? It could be a pastor in my church, a business leader who's in a business that has nothing to do with what I'm working on, and just taking those individuals and sharing with them my thoughts. I quickly found out there were people who could help, right? And not just having a monotonous group of individuals, right? Basically what I'm saying is, if all your mentors are black, it's not gonna help you out. Because you need a very different perspective. You need a woman mentor, you need a mentor who's younger than you need a mentor who's 80 years old. This is all just kind of like hypothetically speaking, right? But you need people that are very, very different who can challenge you to make you complete, because the world is just asking us to be that way. Right? So, thank you for the question.
Any more questions? No? Thank you so much, Dr. Satumba. Dr. Satumba is like family. I always kid him and his nephew that his sister is my sister, so that's how he becomes family. But we have known each other for many, many years now, and when I called on him in the fall, he said he was not available, but he was very, very kind to come here during the spring and be here with us during Black History Month. Wow, that is all I can say. When I stood there and I was recording him on Facebook Live for some of our students who couldn't be here, and some of our alums who know Dr. Satumba, who wanted to watch him and his speech here today. And I know some of them were commenting, great, good, and kept going with that. But we just wanted to make sure from the department we offer our heartfelt thanks to Dr. Satumba for coming all the way despite your very, very busy schedule. So on behalf of the Department of Food and Animal Sciences, College of Agricultural Life and Natural Sciences, we present to you today Black History Month 2020, as well as 50 years of food and animal sciences as a department, the Outstanding Service Award. It's presented to John Satumba, PhD, who's the Global Category Technical Leader and North America Regional Director, Cargill Global Edible Oil Solutions Research and Development, in recognition of your outstanding career and success as an African American food scientist, and in appreciation of your dedicated professional contributions and being an inspiration to our students. Thank you very much, Dr. Satumba. This way, Doctor. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Mayor. And on behalf of the Food Science Club and the new board members and the general body, we would like to present you with this as a token of our appreciation. Thank you.
Thank you all so much.
Now we will have the raffle. So if you do not have a ticket, make sure you get
Sorry, can I say something? I totally forgot. I meant to do this at the beginning. So I saw earlier on there was a call for dues. So I'm going to make a commitment right now, and because I remember when I was in your seats, and you wanted to be part of a club and you couldn't. So I will pay for a year for 10 individuals and their dues. Just talk to Dr. McGee's, but my commitment to those who haven't signed up is for 10 individuals. I don't know if it's a first come, first served basis or raffle it out, but I would take care of 10 people and their year's dues because I really think an organization like this and what you guys are doing is amazing. So thank you so much.
He's got two. I saw his other.
How you gonna do that?
But he's trying to get another one. What is that about?
What side?
This is scheming. Scheming going on. Scheming.
What's my number? Okay, what's my number? What is 80? No, you lying.
They're scheming. They're trying to get more.
Oh, it's 80. 80.
Look, fellas, I got that whole transaction on tape. You know, look, it's gonna be on the cops later on. Bad boys, bad boys.
I don't know what is going on.
Yeah.
80? What is it? What is it?
Yeah. Yeah.
You got
80? What is it?
You don't even know.
Your number is
I'm oh, you 80.
And these are two raffle baskets that are again sponsored by the 50 years of FAS as well as the Department of Environmental Sciences.
Okay,
So they're looking at randomly selecting two numbers. So Dr. Satumba is going to do that for us.
The first two will be for the baskets, and then the 10 will be for your dues. And if you already paid for this semester, then next
Nice.
Do you guys have security? If you don't win, don't blame me.
So the first